Do you remember any of the old buildings that were here, like the drying sheds or the mill or anything?
I have a recollection of the prune dryer that was just below Salmon Creek. That was not functioning as a prune dryer then, but the structure was still there. And I remember my parents saying that was often a seasonal first job for many kids, was to help out working in the prune dryer, because there were lots of Italian prune orchards in this area. Many of the prune orchards were ruined in the Columbus Day storm in '62, because I understand they're very shallow rooted, and so Italian prunes tipped over before many other fruit varieties did. And
we have one Italian prune tree that's about 100 years old.
Is that right?
On our land.
It was a stout one then to survive that storm.
And it was actually just a little bit below the height of the land. It was a little bit of a dip where it is, so it must have gotten protected.
It must have. But the prune drying business had stopped before. I mean, it wasn't still operational in my memory. But I do remember the sawmill that the Stroms had. And when I was riding the school bus, we'd ride the school bus past the lagoon they floated logs on, and the sawmill there.
And where was that?
That was, I don't know the numbers of all the streets here now, but as you go downhill from the store, the first dip, a left turn there, and then at the T, another left turn.
Oh.
And it was on the Strom's property. The Stroms were the big landowners in the area, and they ran cattle on their pasture land, and they were the ones who owned the sawmill. And so I do remember that. And Venersborg store, that was our only retail business in town, but by the time I was here, most of our grocery shopping was done in Battleground by that time. And but you know, if you needed a gallon of milk, that's where you stopped for that. And that was one of my first exposure to where the residents and the retail were in the same building, just like they do on the East Coast now, where you live above the store. Well, they lived beside the store. Whoever was operating the store at the moment lived right beside there, and it was always fun to run into the Battleground store.
What was in there?
Things like you might find in Minute Mart now. There was no fresh produce. Canned things, you could get eggs, you could get milk. They had I remember the refrigerator with a glass front, and just little sundries.